Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. Let me ask you a question. Who has the ultimate power? The presidency or the judiciary? Now, we have a tricameral form of government, three different branches, right? And they are all theoretically and actually supposed to check each other. No one's supposed to have supreme power in this system. But somehow or another, we're seeing the presidency that has become increasingly imperialized. It didn't just start with Trump, just it's been a mission creep, and we need to look at that. And now it seems like it's on steroids. But when you really look at it, I mean, as we now question who's pardoned and why, who's not pardoned and why, who's prosecuted and why, how are the instruments of government used against people? Well, everybody's complaining about it now, but it sure did happen to Dr. King. He was hounded to death. Yeah. So let's talk about this, everybody. Let's talk about this outrage facing Vice President Vance, because he claims that judges are not allowed to check executive power. Ultimately, it appears that he's saying, look, the ultimate power in our government, in our society, rests with the president. What do you think about that? I want you to tune in, everybody. Chime in. Let me know. According to The Guardian, J.D. Vance, the U.S. Vice President, has been accused of threatening the U.S. Constitution after telling judges who have issued rulings temporarily blocking some of President Trump's most contentious executive orders that they, quote, are not allowed, close quote, as he put it, to control the president's, quote, unquote, legitimate power. What do you think about this, everybody? That they're not allowed to do that? Who says that? And are you paying attention to that? I think that you should. And so we've got a tremendous panel, a legislator and a brilliant lawyer, someone who's quite familiar with the Constitution. Indeed, she's the first African-American to get a master's in law from the storied Pennsylvania University of Pennsylvania Law School, an Ivy Leaguer, no less. And she's also a police commissioner in Detroit. And of course, that's right, the head of the House Legislative Caucus in the great state of Texas, a state where most Black people are living. It has the greatest number of Black people of any state in the United States. State Representative Ron Reynolds. And I'm so glad that you're in that big old Texas office. I can see it with the shutters and everything. It just looks real official. Glad that you're there. Talk to me. You're a legislator. When you hear, I mean, and our government is interesting or interestingly configured. Everybody meet me on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel and Blue Sky, santitajackson.bsky.social, and of course the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Everybody like and share, like and share, like and share. And Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. That's the only page where I can get friends. Please, everybody, go there. I got like lots of messages this morning. I can't be your friend. I'm like, yes, you can, but you got to go to Santita Jackson and Friends, please. You know, it's like the states are our federal government in microcosm, right? I mean, I guess the head of at the top of the government in the state would be the governor, right? And then you've got your legislative houses, the upper house, the lower house, and all of that. And the governor has the power to pardon if it's a state crime and all of that, right? And commute sentences. And there's that. Just as the president does on that level. Help me to understand, you know, and my point in giving people that, and if my analogy is wrong, please correct me, Representative Reynolds. This vice president has basically said that the ultimate power rests with the president, and a judge does not have the right to say anything to the president. What do you think about that? I mean, is that correct?
Absolutely, unequivocally false. That is absurd. And Vice President J.D. Vance knows better. First of all, he is a Ivy League law school graduate of Yale. That is something they teach in the first year of law school. Now, I'm no Ivy Leaguer, but I went to Texas Tech law school, and you don't even have to go to law school to understand that there are three co-equal branches of government: the executive, which they occupy, the legislative, which I'm a part of, and the judicial. They are three co-equal. The U.S. Constitution designed them to operate with a system of checks and balances. So one is not greater than the other, right? There's no, oh, well, this one is a little bit more powerful than this one. No, they're co-equal. They're all independent of each other. And so the only thing that the president does have is the ability, through the power of the presidency per the Constitution, is to make judicial appointments that are lifetime in nature. But he does not get a chance to tell the judges what to do, nor do the judges get to tell the president what to do. But they do get a chance to determine if an executive order or something that they're trying to do is unconstitutional. That means that they don't have the power. So basically, it is a check to make sure that the president is not a king. In other words, the president can wave his magic wand and say, do this if it's in violation of the United States Constitution. What's more troubling about that is that J.D. Vance, the vice president, knows this, but they didn't like the lower court's ruling. So how dare this court rule against our king, President Trump, and President Elon Musk? Oh, that's right, he's not the president. But how dare they rule against them when we are trying to do what we're trying to do? No, it doesn't work that way. If you don't like the decision of the judge, you have the ability to appeal. In the government, they appeal all the time. Any party that has standing can appeal. If they're a party to the lawsuit, can appeal the decision of the lower court all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. So just because you don't like the decision, do you not come out and say that the judge cannot do what the judge did? The judge has the power to do it. The legislative branch, we make the laws. The executive branch enforce the laws, and the judicial branch interpret the laws, determining whether or not the laws that we make are unconstitutional. Because guess what, Santita? If we make a law that says let's say, just some absurd that blacks can no longer be citizens of the United States, right? They pass a law that says that the judge could rule it as unconstitutional in violation of the 14th Amendment, right? So that whether the president likes it or not, that is the way that our system works, and it's been working well. Sometimes I like it, sometimes I don't, because just like the court made a decision that Trump has presidential immunity. I didn't like it, but guess what? That it is what it is. I didn't like when they struck down Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act of 1965, but guess what? They did. So the bottom line, Santita, is that J.D. Vance knew he was wrong, and it is BS, it is nonsense, but it's dangerous because it can create a constitutional crisis if they defy a legitimate court order. A court can hold them in contempt, even the president, if they're violating a legitimate court order. So long story short, they knew it was nonsense, but that is the problem when you spew disinformation. It sends some people, they say, oh, well, the court must be doing something unlawful because the vice president said so, and then Senator Tom Cotton, he said so, but they know better. And so it's shameful, and it's a dereliction of duty to create that kind of confusion and disinformation and misinformation. It is very, very dangerous.
Well, a constitutional crisis is what?
A constitutional crisis would be created if the president, the executive branch, is defying orders, legitimate orders, judicial orders from the judicial branch, or if they defy the legislative branch. It creates a constitutional crisis because then who comes in to referee, right? Who comes in to say, well, how are we going to enforce the law against the president that they violated from the judicial branch? It creates a strife within the system that usually those in power don't do. I mean, like, for example, when in the civil rights era, when a court in Alabama or Mississippi said, we're going to defy that, then it brings in the the president, the office of the executive branch, brings in the military to make sure that that court order is upheld. Well, what happens if it's the president that is defying the court order? Then you have a constitutional crisis, because now you have something where, you know, like for example, if President Trump saying, "Well, hey, I'm not going to leave office. I should be able to run for a third term." And then who comes in to remove the president? So a constitutional crisis is created when the people who are in charge of upholding the Constitution are violating the Constitution.
Okay, that struck a chord with you, Attorney.
And I will say this, we raise our hand when we're sworn in to uphold the Constitution. We do that usually on a Bible. That's the first thing we do when we're sworn in, to uphold the Constitution and laws of the United States. That is a part of our oath. Whether you're in Texas or any other state, you uphold the state law and you uphold the federal law. That's what we do as law-abiding citizens. So don't say you're a law and order president when you're spewing false information out there about a legitimate decision from a lower court. They may ultimately win and may be reversed on appeal, but that is the process. That is our American system of judicial and jurisprudence, right? 3 co-equal branches of government. There is no big brother. There is no little brother. There is 3 separate but equal branches of our government. And that is the way we function in our democracy in the United States. And they know that.
Terry O'Neill, I mean, you were nodding and pausing and nodding and pausing.
I know, right? Yeah, I mean, I absolutely everything that Representative Reynolds has said. You know, I don't know if your viewers or listeners know this, but Marbury versus Madison, which is the Supreme Court case from, I think it was 1801 or 1803, something like that, where the famous quote from that case is, "It is emphatically I think the jurisdiction of this court, that is the federal court, to say what the law is." In other words, to interpret the law. And the interesting thing about it is that that case not only set up the principle of judicial review of congressional enactments, the federal judiciary gets to say whether a particular law that has been passed is constitutional or not, right? Like in Representative Reynolds' example, if Congress passed a law that said African Americans are not citizens of the United States, bang, the federal judiciary has the jurisdiction to say that's unconstitutional. I mean, that law will not stand. But interestingly, Marbury versus Madison itself was about an executive action. It wasn't about a congressional law. It was Thomas Jefferson's effort to stop. So John Adams, the outgoing president, has named a lot of, I think, has put up a lot of judicial nominees. They get through the Senate really fast. Thomas Jefferson comes in as president, and he tries to block those individuals from taking their seats on the federal bench, even though they had properly been appointed to the bench. And Justice Marshall stepped in and said, "This is my decision. This is the federal court's decision to make." Thomas Jefferson said, I'm the president. I have the absolute right to stop these people from accepting their charge as federal judges or whatever the process was at the time. And Chief Justice Marshall said, "Oh, no, you don't. You may be the president, but it is the federal courts that get to say whether what you are doing comports with the United States laws and comports with the United States Constitution." That's the role of the federal judiciary. Now, that's Marbury versus Madison. That has been good law for a very, very long time. And that is what J.D. Vance, who calls himself a lawyer, it just wants to tell people, oh, no, that's no good because, you know, Donald Trump has to have his way in all things, just like Elon Musk has to decide whether Elon Musk, has a conflict of interest and therefore should be prohibited from engaging in certain types of diving into data and getting all this information about his rivals, his economic rivals. I mean, the federal judiciary has a very important role to play here, and it's fascinating to me that these oligarchs and their lackeys, and by lackeys, I mean people like J.D. Vance, the vice president, I mean Donald Trump, who's clearly dancing to the tune called by the oligarchs. They're out there saying, no, the federal judges can't do anything. Well, that's just not true. And we're going to see what happens when they continue to flout the judge's rulings.
Attorney Linda Bernard, the Constitution, I know, is something that, well, all of you here know it quite well. And it's very interesting. You come at it from different perspectives as a legislator. You know, you have to go back and forth with, I mean, you are in this branch of government, you know, as activists and as a lawyer, you have to sue and say, wait a minute, you know, the Constitution covers me too, women, marginalized people. So you're always having to dig in. But Attorney Linda Bernard, I mean, you come at it from that space too, but also as a legal scholar. So what do you make of this?
Well, quite frankly, I just think that J.D. Vance was just puffing, saying, really, making a statement that he really wishes was true, but he already knows that it's not true. It's very clear, as both of your former speakers have indicated, that federal law is supreme, and that law is very, very clear. The interpretation of laws in terms of their constitutionality is done by the United States Supreme Court, not by the legislature, not by the executive office. It is what it is. He knows better than what he's talking about. I think it's more of a wish list that he's stating, because he's too well educated to not know it. Federal law is supreme. I mean, it right here. A different example is what you see that is happening with the migrants. So you see your mayor and other mayors saying we're not going to enforce the executive orders and even the existing federal law regarding illegal immigrants, which is that illegal immigrants get the boot out of the country. And that's true in every country in the world, quite frankly. That's not unusual. But they're saying, oh, we don't have to do that. We can help them. We can aid them. And as the gentleman who's in charge of immigration, Coburn or whatever his name is,
Coburn.
I forgot. Yeah. As he points out, federal law supersedes state law, i.e., and if you don't believe it, all you got to do is look at the civil rights movement. When federal law brought soldiers into Arkansas and integrated the schools, same thing happened in Birmingham, same thing happened in Atlanta. Federal law supersedes the law. And the federal law, as both of your other guests have pointed out very adroitly, is that the Supreme Court makes the final call. So I think this is just puffing. I mean, you know, everybody now, every word that anyone states, people hang on it as if it's, you know, DEFCON 4. But it's really not. I don't think there's any question in the mind of Americans or in Trump's mind or anybody else's mind, including J.D. Vance, that he may not like the idea that the president, the office of the president, doesn't have that power, but it's a fact. And it's been a historical fact for almost 400 years now. So it is what it is. I'm not disturbed by it. Or any of the stuff that people are saying on the immigration side, including your mayor, except for the fact that if you do interfere, you will be arrested. That's a federal law. And what the Supreme Court says, the Supreme Court exercises jurisdiction over the United States Marshal's Office. And of course, the president exercises jurisdiction over the military. So, but we're not going to even get there. Bottom line is that the collective pressure within his own party, within Democrats, everything would not allow that to occur.
Well, you know, I think I hear you. And I guess in ordinary times, I think I could rest on that. I think the challenge, though, is Congress is the only entity in government that can create departments. That is their job. They have the power.
I didn't understand your word. I'm sorry.
They create departments. I'm sorry. Like the Department of Education, USAID, all of that. The president can't create a department. The judiciary cannot do that. The lower house, the people's house, does that.
That's correct.
And then you work it up from there. The people's house establishes the budget. The Speaker of the House, the reason the Speaker of the House is so powerful, they determine what will be voted on and what will not come to vote. I mean, that's why they're fourth in line to success, is fourth in line of succession to the presidency, because they sit atop the legislative body. And if you don't believe it, go to the speaker's office. You will be real clear that the speaker is powerful. When you go to that governor's office, I know Representative Reynolds, this is the powers right here. This is it. This is it. When you go to the leader's office on the state level and on the federal level, you realize how important these positions are. I'm saying all of that to say that even though they know also that they do not have the power to create a Department of Government Efficiency, ain't no such thing. No such thing. They are still taking down, they're closing, people can't get into their offices. They are sending letters telling people that they no longer can work. This is threatening people's health insurance, their pensions, all of that. And they don't have the authority to do it. They really, really don't. And so that's why I'm wondering that, with him saying this, Attorney Bernard and Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds and Attorney O'Neill, he knows it. He's a lawyer. I get it. He has the legal training. But the question is now, with all of that, what is he going to do? Because they've been doing things that, to me, they're just not legal, right?
Santita, I think with Linda, under the normal circumstances, what she said, I could go along with it. But these aren't normal circumstances. When we see President Trump's words after he lost the election to Joe Biden, and which we say, well, I didn't, lead an insurrection, but it led to an insurrection because people were saying, well, he said the election was stolen, and they tried to prevent a free and fair transfer of power after a legitimate election.
I disagree with that.
No, hold on.
Let me just finish. So words matter. When people hear J.D. Vance, the Vice President of the United States of America, say this, they believe that, well, this is an obstructionist judge, and he doesn't have the power to stop President Trump and what he's doing. And so it causes confusion and chaos, and it leads to a system where people don't believe that our government works the way it's designed to work, because they believe that they're rigging the rules to hurt President Trump implementing his agenda. Not saying that it was maybe perhaps unconstitutional, and like every other president before them, they can appeal the decision. And so I think that J.D. Vance, he's very smart, he's brilliant. He knew what he was doing. And yes, he knew it was wrong. He said it anyway because they want to cause confusion. This has been a shock and awe president and vice president. And when people show you who they are, believe them. I can't give them the benefit of the doubt because I've seen the way they've trampled upon the Constitution and believe that they're above the law. And because of a lot of things that he's gotten away with, he thinks he's above the law. He thinks he's Teflon Don. So I disagree respectfully, Linda. I think we can agree to disagree, but I believe that it was intentional. It was intentionally misleading. That's why they don't want to have these checks and balances on their authority. They want to eliminate people who disagree with them, whether it's the Department of Justice, whether it's the FBI, whether it's the CIA. Teach it in schools. You can't teach about things. They want to eliminate barriers to their power. And Terry was right. This is what they do in oligarchs. This is what oligarchs do. They control the airways. They've already fired press people that disagree with them, that have the audacity to report and question their authority. So no, it's dangerous. And during these times, it causes more confusion and chaos and distrust with our government and the American people.
And I think the problem is, Linda, and I want you to respond to that, but when the actions were smaller, Attorney Bernard and Attorney O'Neill and Representative Reynolds, we didn't say anything. Because it's like this has been like a mission creep on the imperialization of the presidency, right? We've seen some power grabs. And it just seems like it's in our face. But Attorney Bernard, what were you about to say to him?
I disagree, Santita, and you know how much I love and respect you, that there has been this imperialization, if you will, of the presidency. The presidency has always, quite frankly, been imperial, and it's looked at that way throughout the world. But in terms of what you said, Ron, about, I mean, about, first of all, there was no insurrection. You and I both know that. It was a 90-minute riot. It started at, let me finish, it started at 3:30. At 6:30, the Capitol was totally cleared. At 8:30, Congress was back in session. If there was a 3-hour delay in the coronation of the Queen by a bunch of people acting a fool and running around and just acting a fool, they didn't come with the intent of hurting anybody. They did none of that. No guns, no rifles, no machine guns. All of these things are available. If we wanted to insurrect, we could insurrect. But just like the cartels do. But that wasn't this. This was a 3-hour riot. This was a 3-hour riot. It was later termed, and it was called a riot for about 2 days. And then the Democrats decided they were going to call it an insurrection. And then they had a kangaroo committee that consisted of 2 Republicans, which were favorable to them, and 5 Democrats to make all these conclusions and have lights, camera, action, and do a theatrical presentation. But the facts are, at 6:30 p.m., the Capitol, it was surrounded by National Guard, and it was closed. And at 8:30, they were back in session. Nancy Pelosi hit that gavel. Now, the final thing I want to say, you said that words matter, and I agree with that. But at the same time, all of the words that have been used to describe Trump forever have created this mania. And if you want to talk about what's happening now, what you see now is a reversal in government processes. We are spending, Ron, $2 trillion a year more than we take in. I repeat, $2 trillion a year more than we take in. And so that is what he has, a special person and a special committee designed to address. We can't keep it up. We need to get ourselves under control. Diets are painful. For me, a diet is painful. You know, restricting myself is painful. But if I have somebody over me that's making me only eat lettuce and tomatoes and stuff like that, the diet will work.
But I didn't elect Elon Musk.
So that's just my only point.
But Linda, I didn't elect Elon Musk.
America is sick, very, very.
I got you, but I didn't elect.
Just one more
Linda,
point. Just one, Santita, and that is what the most important thing to you and me is: education. If we are 40th in the world in education, with all the money that we have and all that we spend, obviously we're not doing it right. So we need somebody with an eraser to come in. I mean, that's what a pencil is. That's what an eraser is on the end of a pencil for, what your mother and father and our mom said. And that's to erase it, correct mistakes. Obviously, we're making mistakes. The way we've been doing it has not worked. We're getting deeper and deeper and deeper in the hole. So we need a radical act. You know, radical times require radical action.
You're right, but the eraser works on ink, not on lead. I mean, it works on lead, but not on ink. You know, something is like off here. I mean, no. I mean, but there's a lot that's off because you have people who are now they're doing it all. I mean, Terry O'Neill, you're about to jump to it.
No, I just want your listeners and your viewers, Santita, to go to pbs.org. You can read the full report on the January 6th attempted coup. It was an insurrection. There's no question about that. There's also no question that Donald Trump was behind it, that his intention was to maintain power, to retain the presidency, even though he lost that election fair and square. On the popular vote, he lost the election by 7 million votes. He lost that election by 7 million votes, popular vote, way more than the popular vote that he lost in 2016, which was he lost that by 3 million votes, although in 2016 he won the electoral college, is why he became president. But there's no question that Donald Trump, and by the way, there's also no question he's a convicted criminal. He's an adjudicated sex abuser. We know what he is and who he is, and we know what he did on September 6th. And I think your viewers deserve to see actual facts. They should also read Jack Smith's final report on the January 6th insurrection, which has been made public, to my understanding. I just want to say something, because Santita, you've said repeatedly a problem is that Elon Musk is not elected. I just want to dig in on that a little bit, kind of talk a little bit more about what it means to have an unelected oligarch going inside the government and messing around in our data, right? So he went in, his little people went in and seized the payment system, the computers that run the payment systems. Now, I don't know about other people, but I get my Social Security check. It gets deposited directly to my bank account. Also, when I pay my federal income taxes, that goes directly from my bank account. So these payment systems, they have my bank number, they have my routing number, they have all of my Social Security information, they have all of my tax information, all of that. Elon Musk and his people went in there, seized the data, took the data and put it onto an external hard drive, from what I understand, because, and this is kind of tells you how the United States government does not spend its money. The Treasury Department's operational computer system is so antiquated that the 20-somethings-year-old and the 19-year-old didn't actually have the tools to be able to understand how the system worked. It was the 65-year-old guys that they had just fired that knew how to work it. So they were kind of stymied, and they put a copy onto an external hard drive so that they could muck around in it, and try to figure it out offline, if you will. Anyway, there's a huge problem, and just one specific little problem with Elon Musk getting his little hands on this kind of government data. Another thing that he has gone in to get his hands on is in the Federal Aviation Authority or agency, right? What he's doing with that is there's a piece of the FAA called the Office of Commercial Space Transportation. The Office of Commercial Space Transportation. Its job is to make sure that commercial space transportation is safe. The FAA overall is really charged with the safety of commercial air traffic and air travel. So space travel, there's a little poorly funded but small department in the FAA that looks to safety. Elon Musk believes in moving fast and accepting that other people, not him, but other people will be hurt by what he does, and that he has to fail. We all know that failure actually helps you learn how to do things right. There's no question about that. Elon Musk's attitude is, I need to be able to fail and hurt other people, not me. I want to hurt other people, and I don't want to have to be held accountable for any of the damage that I do to other people who have nothing to do with space travel, like the people whose cars were harmed when one Elon Musk's rockets blew up and the debris rained down in the Caribbean and it fell on people's backyards and such. Elon Musk says those failures are entertaining to him. He literally put that out on his social media that he owns. And he also said, look, it's just all those people that get hurt just don't matter. The FAA begs to differ, and they imposed like a $700,000, $200 million pocket change for the richest man in the world. They had a fine for him because he was behaving recklessly. Now what Elon Musk wants to do is to disband that part of the FAA. That little part of the FAA that is supposed to keep space travel safe. Now, the incidence of people using space rockets to go up in space is expanding rapidly. One might say exponentially. That means you need more oversight, more regulation, more ability of people who don't have a profit motive to be able to ensure the public that we will be safe as these guys move forward with their space transportation. No one's trying to stop space transportation, but we do want it to be safe. Elon Musk wants it to be safe for him, and the heck with anybody else that gets hurt by what he does. And this is what oligarchs do. This is what oligarchs do. They don't want the federal courts looking out over their shoulders. They don't want a federal agency looking over their shoulder. If somebody else gets hurt, well, it's not their problem, and they just don't care. Remember that the robber barons of the 1900s and 1920s, they did not have a large federal government to rein them in. This is why they were able to do so much damage. After the robber barons were beginning to be deposed, then FDR comes in and starts really putting in serious regulation to protect consumers, to protect workers, to protect local communities. All of those things were installed. And now the robber barons, also known as the tech overlords from Silicon Valley, they want to come back in and dismantle all of that because they want to hurt people and they don't want to be held accountable for it.
I mean, you know, there are so many massive conflicts of interest that no one's talking about. I mean, even a racial discrimination probe at Tesla reportedly was stopped by one of the executive orders of the president. I mean, he has the right to do any executive order that he wants to write up, but you know, you have an obligation to be right. And I mean, I don't care what party you are. I really don't. I mean, because both of these parties, the major parties, serve the oligarchy, and I'm over it. You know, so I mean, I'm tired of that. I'm tired of Americans who are living from payday to Monday. Thank you, Lynn Richardson. I'm tired of the fact that they've got to deal with $10 dozen eggs. These people are trying to feed their children. You're trying to care for the elderly. People are trying to get up to go to work every day. You need a certain number of calories to be able to function. People, you know, and no one cares. So we're not having that conversation. I'm talking about people who are rich who are trying to get richer, and the poor who are getting poorer, and no one's talking about that.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, that's insulting. And so when someone who has the education, who has the knowledge, who knows, Linda, he knows he's wrong. He knows that we have a tricameral form of government, co-equal branches of government. He knows that. It's not even, you know, it's nothing for us to even agree on, with all respect, my beloved Linda, because it's not my opinion, it's a fact. See, at some point we have to have common facts. You have a right to your opinion, but not the facts. The fact is, I mean, like like Nancy Pelosi told Trump, you know, I am your equal. I know he turned cherry red. He went, what? Yeah. Yes, son, I'm your equal. And John Roberts, yeah, we are your equal. That's the way it's supposed to work. I mean, now, mind you, things have been off the rails for a long time, because the person who was running America for many, many decades was J. Edgar Hoover, because he was blackmailing everybody. Yeah, let's put that there. And they're going to redact all of these documents, and they're going to lie, and really not tell you, and still not tell you the truth about who killed Kennedy. And the fact that they would hold on to these records, and Martin Luther King and RFK, the fact that they would hold on to these records this long makes us mistrust them, distrust them. You don't mistrust them, you distrust them. And it's a shame. They're destroying our country. Vice President, you took an oath, not to the Republican Party, but to me. It's not right. And we should, as Americans, I don't care where you are ideologically on the political or partisan spectrum, you ought to be insulted by this, because we're being assaulted by this. This is not going to work. And all it's doing, I look at C-SPAN in the morning, Linda, Attorney Terry O'Neill, Attorney Linda Bernard, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds. Americans are so angry. I mean, we are in very dangerous territory.
And angry at the Democrats.
The angry period. I mean, look, two people tried to kill Donald Trump twice. I thought that was horrible. I did not vote for him. But trying to kill him? No, I don't agree with that. But that's how toxic the environment is.
That's true.
It's not right. Whatever you think about him, you don't have the right to harm him. You don't have that right. You don't. But because things are so out of whack and things are so unfair, it's becoming more and more toxic every day. And we gotta agree that, no, you don't have the right to just walk into the Oval Office And because you don't have the votes in Congress, you're just going to executive order your way into the presidency. That ain't going to work. Because he's got a lot of Republicans, Linda, who are very angry with him about things, and they're hearing stuff when they go home. Because people are getting warmed up about the basic staples that you have to buy that you need for your food. You can't afford them. People can't afford milk. Hey.
People can't afford housing. I don't know if you saw the national
Anything.
news today in Detroit. 2 children froze to death in a car with their mother and grandmother. 5 kids, 2 adults.
Oh my
And in Greektown Casino Garage, right there at where the hotel is. They went there because it's a safe place, a safer place if you got to sleep in your car. But it was 20-some degrees last night. A 3-year-old died, and I think the other child was 9. 2 women, 5 children. So there's no, I mean, I feel there's more than you even can believe. And we've been dealing with it all day here at the police department. And I understand what you're saying, but Santita and Terry and Ron, we've got to change. Right now,
I agree.
You got cancer. You got if that arm is bleeding, you got to cut it off. Bottom line is that America is in deep, you know what? We are way over our head. And if America doesn't survive, Black folks don't survive, women don't survive, nobody survives. So we've got to build up our country. And right now, we don't have a lot of time to do this. We've got to get serious about
what they need to do?
About everything.
The only cabinet that does not have to give their excess money back is the Pentagon. Nobody wants to really audit them. No one wants to audit the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, they're private banks. Audit them. They control our money. Audit the Pentagon.
That'd be great.
They're not going to do that. What they want to do is take the Department of Education away from me.
That's right.
That's not doing anything.
No. That's because no. It did no. Listen, no. It didn't. As a product of public schools, who got accepted at the top schools in the world, I'm offended. What I'm simply saying is, it's just like our society has not collapsed; it's being collapsed. And it's being collapsed for global interest.
That's right.
For profit.
That's what's happening.
Yeah, being collapsed. Yeah.
Our children can learn. Yeah. My brother, when he was in Congress, my first brother was in Congress, developed an amendment to the Constitution that would guarantee equal access to equal high quality education for every child, because there is no guarantee. You have no federally protected right to get an education. In Detroit, in your city, some public school students sued the public school system because they said, you graduated me and I'm illiterate. I have the right to read.
Yes.
So there's that predates Trump. And it would be one thing if Trump was trying to get everybody into the University of Pennsylvania like his own kids. It would be another thing if Biden was trying to do the same. If he was trying to pardon people like he pardoned his son.
That's right.
He would be in jail like all the other people in 1994. But all these people are unfair. And they don't care about us. And I'm tired of it. I am.
And Santita, I just want to, I live in Tennessee where gun manufacturers are actually quite powerful. And here in Tennessee, we just had yet another school shooting at Antioch High School, a young man who was basically radicalized online to be very hate-filled, and just went into the school, and he managed to kill one other student, and he killed himself. He hurt others. But can I just say, the state of Tennessee insists on enacting gun policies that make the gun manufacturers wealthier and that kill children. We know that in Tennessee, and I think it's true in the rest of the country, but in Tennessee, the highest reason, the most likely reason for a child to die is by gun violence. One of for teenagers, like teenagers and young adults in Tennessee, those who die by gun violence, the largest intent behind the gun violence is suicide. The second is homicide. Guns are dangerous. We know that in domestic violence situations, if there is a gun in the house where there is also intimate partner violence, the likelihood that that the person who is being abused will be killed by gun violence goes up dramatically. And what does the state of Tennessee do? It continues to pass laws that benefit the gun manufacturers, profit the gun manufacturers, and yet children continue to die here. So yes, I agree with Linda that things are very broken in this country, but when we have, and Tennessee is a supermajority Republican, just happens to be. I'm not carrying water for the Democratic Party. Love you, Representative Reynolds, but I've got my issues with the Democrats too. But the point is, when you promote gun policies that you know will kill children, that is morally reprehensible. When you promote health policies that you know will kill women, that you know will result in preventable deaths from complications of pregnancy and childbirth, when you know that Black women will experience those preventable deaths at 3 to 4 times the rate of white women, when you promote these health policies that kill women under those circumstances, that is morally reprehensible. There is no room in the United States for that. And yet we have many legislators, including in Washington, D.C., that want those policies to move forward. So that to me, yeah, when you say the country is broken, I look to that and say, yes, that is very broken. That is very broken. And that's
all I have to do is go to the book War is a Racket. I was looking it up. I bought it by Major Smedley Butler, who came away from war saying, this is a racket. Because even with Ukraine, they're not giving that money to soldiers. They're not even giving it to Ukraine. And even Zelensky just said, you all said you gave us nearly $200 billion. 100 billion of it we didn't get. Where is it?
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what they did to the Department of Education. We're not trying to eliminate.
That's right.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No. You have a lot of graft everywhere. A lot of people have been playing fast and loose with all this money. They have been. But what we will do, we will bail out Elon Musk.
That's right.
The reason he's the wealthiest man publicly in the world is because we gave him the money. We gave him the contracts. Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg.
That's right.
They get contracts. They get money from us. They're not so special. They're not so smart.
That's right. And Santita, if I could just add something, I want to agree with Linda on something. We do have a lot of problems, and many of these problems were in Democrat administration. So I'm not casting aspersions. But I am saying this, we know that there are challenges with our education system, with our economy. Trump ran on the cost of eggs, but I don't see any of these policies when you're focused on ending DEI, targeting immigrants and targeting women and the LGBTQ community. I don't see any of these policies making our education stronger, making our economy stronger, bringing down the cost of eggs or to these massive tariffs on other countries. And in fact, it's just doing the opposite, raising prices of goods and services. So we agree that we have challenges, but what I think where we disagree with is the solutions. And I see the Trump administration and MAGA implementing Project 2025 that targets with surgical precision African Americans and people of color, women, and the poor. And I think that they are catering to the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-to-do. And that is what these policies are designed to do. When you eliminate government workers, civil service workers, so that you can outsource it to private industry. When you
and to AI.
And to AI, which Elon Musk is making a killing.
He's a direct beneficiary.
You talk about Starlink, and you talk about SpaceX. Those are companies.
Starlink has helped Ukraine.
That benefits.
Starlink helped the people in Florida and in the Carolinas with the hurricane. He's the one that gave them transportation back.
But I'm saying that they're increasing the budget. So I'm saying that the policies that they're implementing. I don't understand. The policies that they're implementing. The point I was making by bringing that up is not to knock them. Is to say the policies that they're implementing is only to increase the bottom line of those privately held corporations that benefit their shareholders and Elon Musk. So in other words, the rich are getting richer off of our tax dollars, and then we're cutting programs like Head Start and others that were attempted to do until the judge halted it that benefit poor and working class families. That's what I'm saying. So how are these policies designed to help make our communities better, with bringing down inflation? They're not. We haven't seen it. All we've seen is, cutting resources that many working family. I mean, when he tried to do, would have hurt pregnant women, would have hurt firefighters and police. Now we're talking about hurting Social Security, the safety net for senior citizens. And so I don't see where the Trump administration has come in to offer solutions that actually help working families and the poor. I've only seen things that would benefit the rich and the well-off. And that, to me, is not what's in the best interest of Americans.
Linda?
Well, he's only been 100 days. Let's give the guy, more. Let him get his feet wet, dry, or however you want to call it. I mean, the bottom line is that we've got so many problems. He's working on a number of issues and problems. It bothers me when a lot of things are, quote, blamed on, quote, DEI. But I don't think it's so, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think it's so much racial as it is that there's been so much movement in the country through DEI to transgender people, transsexual this and all that. We were all fine when it was just white folks, black folks, and women. We knew what our priorities were in terms of affirmative action, and the Hispanics. That was it.
But they've been trying to
but when we diversified it, we got so much anonymity back. White folk, we were okay.
No, but they've been trying to get rid of affirmative action. I mean, equality since the Brown v. Board of Education decision. That's when they started sending their children to white schools that I had to wait a minute, wait, vouchers that I had to pay for them. If you want to have a private school, fine, then go on and pay for it. I don't need to.
Thank you. That's the part I have a problem with, Santita.
That part. And you know what? And wait a minute, let me tell you something. Department of Education, anytime you will not make the internet a public utility, anytime $1 trillion corporation, all these tax breaks that we're giving these corporations, and you cannot give every child access to the internet and a computer, something's wrong with you. Something's wrong with you. And something's wrong with this system that allows our children and our adults to be treated this way. This is awful. I have to pay big money every month to keep my Wi-Fi on, to have access to the information that everybody should have access to. Of course, we don't have a common good anymore. We don't have a common point of view, because guess what? We all can't afford to watch the same TV show. Nobody's sitting around like we did with Walter Cronkite. No, because everybody's talking about cable news. You got to pay money to see cable news.
That's correct.
What's happening here? I hear you, because the $36 trillion debt is unsustainable. You're absolutely right, Linda. Spending $2 trillion more than we take in, unsustainable. Absolutely. Something's got to be done about that. But I'm not the throat that needs to get slit. We don't have the right to have all these bases all over the world. We are threatening people. We're not bringing peace. It's not right. It's not right. We have got to decide. If my mother said, what would America be like if you knew that you could come here and get not just treated for cancer, but cured for it? If this became the center of health for the world, if you knew that you could send your child, or you could come here yourself and get the best education in the world, we would be a beacon unto the world. But it has been established that we have killed more than 300 million people around the world. That's what the American empire has done. It's not right. And everyone who preaches peace, we surveil them. Everyone who gives us war, we honor them. That's unsustainable. Dr. King said it. Don't listen to me. He said all this money that you're spending on war, multiplying racism and classism and materialism, is leading you to spiritual death, because you are not putting a portion of that into programs of social uplift. You're talking about eliminating the Department of Education, and you're not talking about any cuts to the Department of Defense, which is really the Department of Offense. And that's an offense to all these. And I got two grandparents who are buried in Arlington. So I get it. Okay. But I'm tired of it. I'm tired of Trump cavalierly saying, oh, well, we're just going to take over Gaza and we're going to send our troops. You're not sending your children. You ain't sending your grandchildren. We ought to get tired of that. And I'm all for him cleaning things up and making things right. He's not been in there. You're right, Solomon. He just got in. You're right. But I want some transparency. I want Elon Musk to tell me where he's got all these conflicts of interest, because they abound. And we deserve to know. You don't just send a letter to someone, frightening them to death and telling them 8 months severance and you're out. You got 24 hours to do, or 48 hours, whatever it was, something absurd. You got to figure it out. Wait a minute, that's my health care, that's my pension. So who am I going to ask?
Whole industries have done it, Santita. The entire steel industry closed down in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh.
But you know what? I had Dr. Max Wolf on here yesterday. The government is not an industry. They are the social guarantor. They're the one. They're not for.
If there wasn't so much waste, fraud, and abuse, we could be the social guarantor.
But the industries that I'm sponsoring got waste, fraud, and abuse, and they abuse me and they steal from me. That's why we got inflation, because these corporations are able to raise their prices for no reason. So I don't want to hear that.
It's called free enterprise.
No, and it's called
the American way.
And it's called unsustainable. It's called sin. And sin is an archery term that says you're off the mark. You didn't hit the target. We ain't hitting the target. And it's unsustainable. And I will rest on that. It ain't working. This ain't working. It's not. And if you don't believe it, ask Luigi Mangione. So this is a rich boy who said, this is awful. And I don't think you should kill anybody. But when that happened, I said, this was about healthcare. I said it immediately.
Yes, you did.
I said, no, I don't care what they come up with. And the internet exploded with support for him. These people need to watch it, because people are remember that song, Don't Push Me 'Cause I'm Close to the Edge.
I'm trying
not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep them going under.
Remember that.
Come on now.
Poetic.
Master Flash and the Furious Five. Don't do it. Stop. Don't look at me. You don't need to smile on me, y'all. Really. And you're right, Solomon. It's not the government's job to hire people. It is the government's job to make sure that we're covered. And if we're going to be looking for fraud, you need to start with the State Department. Well, maybe that was a slip. You need to start with the Pentagon. Because I do remember back in the 80s when they had some little widgets that were like thousands of dollars. You remember that? And we were like, wait a minute. I can go to, well, I didn't go to Home Depot back then, but I can go to the Ace Hardware store. And this is like 50 cents. You mean tell me this is thousands of dollars? There's waste, fraud, and abuse all over the place.
That's correct. That's true.
So cut it out. But you don't have to cut out the children. You don't have to do that. Not when you had, I was reading a story from Detroit when they had a child who was the smartest kid in his class who was teaching his class because they didn't have a teacher. Come on. These children deserve better than that.
We all do.
And not just better, they deserve to make this right. And you say, John, you said, I should own this. Maybe your show shouldn't have downplayed the threat of another Trump administration while simultaneously smearing the most progressive presidents of FDR, Joe Biden. No. I don't own anything. Joe Biden lost the presidency all by himself, and then he gave it to Kamala to run. Stop playing that. I'm not taking that. No. He did that, and everybody kept telling him he was losing the office force, and he did it. And he gave this girl 107 days to run, and then he gave her his team, who did not like her anyway. No. They own this. I ain't owning nothing because I didn't come up with this. Everything that we said on this show would have helped her win, including for him to get out 2 years before. He should have gotten out there before. He should have gotten out before. You should have said
that. I
something.
agree with.
You should have said something.
But she was
Absolutely.
definitely not the candidate.
No. And
But
you should have opened.
But Santita, we tell the whole truth now. The
Well,
only reason she got it.
AM, wait a minute.
Listen,
Stop,
I'm not even.
stop,
I don't know what you think I'm going to say, but I'm sure I'm not going to say it.
I got to get out.
Okay.
And then you all can stay and listen. But when you hear my voice, you know I gotta go. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, the Santita Jackson Show. Now, Linda, because I got a show here, huh? Now you go on and continue talking. Go on. No, go on, Linda. Go on.
You really
I have to cut it off so we can edit. And so when you talking over me, that's not helping me. I got to get.
I agree with that. I understand. I apologize.
It's all right, sweetie. I know you're excited. I get it.
But the only reason she got it was because the money was in her name and Biden's name. That was the point. 100 to almost $200 million. It was the Biden Harris.
Ron, say what you want to say before you go. Hold on, he's got to go because he is in session.
Yeah. So I think this is healthy dialogue. I'm glad that Linda and I can give contrasting views because we're not a monolith, right? We don't all have the same, we're black, we don't all have the same opinion. So, but we can agree to disagree and have civil discourse. I think that is helpful for debate and dialogue. I will say this, that I don't want for President Trump to be a failure because I am an American and I didn't vote for President Trump. I want our country to succeed. I want the cost of goods and services and groceries and inflation to go down, not up. But at the same time, I'm going to call out what I see is only catering to the rich, the well-off, and white folks that are empowered and corporate greed. I have a duty to call it out, regardless of who it is, and to speak truth to power. So I do think that the whole target has been on marginalized communities, black and brown, obsessiveness with anti-DEI. When you're talking about merit-based, I mean, it's absurd. When the plane and the helicopter clash, blame it on DEI. I mean, that is ridiculous.
Totally.
Say everything. I mean, things should be merit-based. But when you talk about DEI
is merit-based.
Exactly. It's not like, oh, you're black, you're hired. Oh, you're a woman, you're hired. No, you have to be competent, capable, and qualified. So I think that we can have a discourse with looking at facts and hopefully, we can improve our government. Hopefully, but to say, the vice president, really wasn't being disingenuous. I think he knew what he was doing, and he was intentionally putting out false information because a lot of people, believe it or not, they don't know. Most people didn't go to law school. Most people didn't even go to college. A lot of people didn't even graduate high school. So I don't assume that they know that there are three co-equal branches of government. I don't assume that they know that the president doesn't have the ability to supersede a judicial opinion, right? And so many people, they don't take civics and they don't understand this. So when he says this, it puts out information and that other people then rely on as gospel, because why would he make an intentionally false statement? They don't know. So I think it's dangerous. And I think that's a problem that I had as someone who, if I put out that information, then people are going to rely on it, that believe in me, based on my credibility. Hey, Representative Reynolds said, no, he said it. No. So he's the vice president of the United States of America. Why wouldn't they believe it if he said it? So that's what I'm saying. I think that words matter, and we have to be very careful at the information when we hold these public positions and positions of trust. We can't just go say things haphazardly like a talk show host or anybody else, because they're elected, right? We're elected and we take an oath to uphold the Constitution. No, he wasn't under oath in a deposition or in court, but when you make a statement like that, it matters. And that's all that was the point I was making earlier. But Santita, as always, is a great joy. I have to be somewhere at 6:30. So I look forward to joining you again. All right. Thank you, guys.
We love you. Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ron, I agree with everything you said.
I want you to be able to have your say before we go.
No, I agreed with everything. everything that he said. I am concerned about the frequent mentions of DEI, like that has something to do with something when it doesn't. And the other reason it disturbs me is because of the number of women he has in his cabinet. But for DEI, those women wouldn't be sitting there. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, I mean,
pretty or not.
He's throwing something out to the people whom that means something to. I mean, because the majority of white people in America did vote for him, and he got a chunk of the black vote, blah blah blah. And I get it. I'm just saying, I don't. If you all notice here, I don't spend a lot of time talking about President Trump, and I certainly don't disparage him. We don't need the president to fail, because when the president fails,
that's a very important statement.
We don't. But I need the president to be fair. I need the president to rise above party and above their personal stuff and be big. If God gives you the platform, you have the obligation to be big. My father has often said, you can't be big and little at the same time. And if you have the gift of charisma, which is the gift of spirit from God, which Trump does have, you don't have to like him, but he's got something that is magnetic. I want him to use it in a way that lifts people, but doesn't crush people. That's what I want. And I'm going to continue to push him and everybody else. I know who has the microphone, who has the light to do that. That's what we've got to do. We all need to win. And the only way we're going to win is if it's we. We've got to win together.
Correct.
And that's why, look, you all might say, oh, here comes Linda. Linda's part of the family. And her opinion matters. She got a life experience, a set of life experiences that matter. We need to listen to her. You don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with Ron Reynolds, with Representative Ron Reynolds or Attorney Terry O'Neill. You don't. But let's begin to just ease up. Let's talk to each other. Let's listen to each other. And oh yeah, I own this. I own everything that I've said. And if I change my mind, I'll tell you that too. But the Biden presidency, I don't own that. Everything I said, every criticism was not to make him smaller. I believe in making people bigger. Starting with myself. I reprimand myself and get on my knees every night. Lord, make me better, make me right. Because I know that I'm not completely right. I know my heart's not completely clean. I know that. We've got to get better. And not just get better, we got to get right. What we have is unsustainable. Malibu is slipping by 4 inches, every week or something like that, into the ocean. Read the tea leaves, everybody. Read the room. Morally, spiritually, physically, in every way, we are in trouble. But we can get out of it. But we're not going to get up out of this until we get right. Not get better. Not change something. We have to get right. That's what we have to do. Get right.
Okay. I love you.
Oh, wait a minute. What? I didn't platform Jill Stein.
What?
But I would platform her supporters. I would let President Trump's people come on the show. I've had them come on the show because this is America. I don't have to agree with them. And I'm not going to apologize for that. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't believe in shutting people out and shutting people down. I was at the DNC 2 weeks ago, and you know what they were doing in the middle of people voting? They were changing the rules on voting. How democratic is that? Huh? 14 million people voted for Joe Biden. They didn't want him, but they got him. But some rich people said, we want him out. And then he was thrown out. Really? Is that democratic? Really? You ought to be tired of that. Don't you put that on me. Everything that I fought for has been to make America, this party, and all these parties inclusive and to make them right. And they don't want me. The only seat my father's had in more than 20 years was the seat you saw him sitting in this past summer. It was his wheelchair. All the people he put in place have never given him a seat at the convention.
That's correct.
I mean, and you know what? I am not bitter about it. I don't care. I didn't have that kind of investment in them anyway. My investment was always with the least of these, Because they're the people who sent us there. And I never forgot that. My parents never let us forget that. The black elite didn't send us. They didn't want us. It was the poor people, poor white folks, poor black folks, the poor Palestinians, some disaffected Jewish people, all the folks who were on the outside. They're the ones who pushed us forward. And we carried them. And I don't regret a thing. And I'm not bitter about it. I am too mature for that. I don't have time for that.
I love you.
I love you. And I
gotta
you,
go. Linda. Okay.
I love you.
I love you more, but you know that.
Love
to the whole family. Kisses and hugs.
Love you. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
So everybody, that's where I'm coming from. That's where I'm coming from. I want things to be right. When I go to the hospital, I don't go there to get better. I go there to get well, to get right. That's what I'm talking about right now. Get right. And America needs to get right. We're too blessed to be as wrong as we have been. All this money that we need, we're cutting checks left and right, and we can't figure out food for people in the United States. And you don't need to name call, Solomon. You're better than that. You're better than that. We don't need to do that. And Roland is not a leader. He is an influencer. He's a journalist. And, and he has his place, and that's good. I heard Tucker Carlson say something. He said, leadership, you put your life on the line, and you're willing to do that. And I grew up with someone who was willing to do that every single day. I never knew a day that I thought my father would live to see the end of. And I had to adjust. And I wouldn't change a thing. Wouldn't change a thing. I understand they made you mad, Solomon, but let's just get better. We don't need to call people names. We don't need to do that. And if we don't want those invectives hurled toward us, let's not hurl them toward other people. And it's hard. Believe me, I get nice and warm and mad and have to, Lord, let me bite my tongue. One thing I do know is that once it comes out of here, I can't bring it back. Can't bring it back. So let's get better. Let's grow together. Let's do that. We don't need to be mean and nasty. And trust me, vengeance is not yours. It is the Lord's. My Uncle Saint, may he rest in peace, said, God will make it right without you having to lift a finger. So clean out your own heart. You get right. You do the right thing for the right reasons. You think the right thoughts. Just ask God to just change you, to make you right, so that we can be right and do right. Okay? And Solomon, I love you. And just thank you for just coming in. Whether you agree or disagree, you are here. And I with all my heart, you filled my heart. Everybody like and share the show and tell people about the show. And let's grow together. Let's do that. Let's do that. What you say, Bernadette, God gave us a purpose. Sometimes it's hard to fulfill. It sure is. But if Jesus could do it, we can too. Because Jesus did tell us we can do greater things. I don't care what your faith is. If you're not Christian, just let Jesus teach you. Let Rabbi Heschel teach you. Let Gandhi teach you. Grow, everybody. Let's grow. Let's grow. And let's do that together. I love you, everybody. So let me get on out here so I can take this off the top of my head. I love you. It's been great. I love you, Jewel. I love you, Bernadette. I love you, Solomon, and everybody else who I did not see. Miss Carol, my sister from another Mr. It's Carol, you better be safe out there. You might have to move to Vegas. I know a lot of people are doing that. John Walsh, sending you all so much love. Bernadette, love, 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 love. Andre, love you, love you, love you, love you. John, all you all, love you, love you, love you. And thank you so much for being with us. And, and thank you for being family. Michael, how you doing, sweetie? Michael Brandon, just thank you. Karen, thank you so much. Sending you so much love. Mike Burries, sending you Carol Sanders. Everybody, love you. God bless you. See you tomorrow on the Santita Jackson Show.